So railways. Acha. Okay. So Indian Railways has come a long way since 1853 when the first passenger train was started between Mumbai and Thane covering a grand distance of 34 kilometers. In contrast, our rail network today covers over 68,000 kilometers, making it the fourth longest in the world. We are ranked third in the world in terms of number of railway stations. And just last year, Bharatiya Rail carried over 670 crore passengers. While last year's budget set a new benchmark with 2.6 lakh crores in capex allocation, there's an additional commitment of 10 to 12 lakh crores over the next 5 years that is to be used for the expansion and upgrade of 44,000 kilometers of rail tracks, the manufacture of 400 additional energy efficient Vande Bharat trains, the launch of high-speed bullet trains that travel at a speed of 320 kilometers an hour, 6,000 kilometers of Kavach train collision avoidance systems, and the modernization of over 1,300 railway stations, some of which are comparable to airport terminals. On the freight side, the goal is to increase the share of railways from 27 to 45% by 2030, reduce transit times by increasing the average speed from 25 to 50 kilometers an hour, set up a series of dedicated freight corridors, the establishment of 100 more Gati Shakti cargo terminals, and the reduction in logistics costs from the current 30% to 8% of the country's GDP. So the plans, objectives, execution, and the money involved is huge here. And that's why it's important for investors like us to understand the landscape and see how we can participate in this opportunity. Of course, there are individual railway specific stocks one can buy, and we'll discuss a few here, but something new that's come up and is the focus of today's video is the Nifty India Railways PSU Index. Think of this more as an overview as we look at the different components, the performance, the valuation, and the overall growth of the sector. Let's begin. Now, the Nifty India Railways PSU Index is exactly what you think it is. It's a basket of stocks and index that tracks the performance of PSUs that are involved in the railway sector's infrastructure, modernization, and logistics. Why PSUs? Well, that's because railways has always been a state-run enterprise to the extent that we even had a railway budget until 2017, I think. So very specifically, the Nifty India Railways PSU Index is a basket of companies from within the Nifty 500 which are either owned by the Ministry of Railways or else these companies cater to the Indian Railways in some capacity, which can be in the form of products, raw materials, or even services like technology, electricity, consulting, etc. This basket currently is of 14 companies. So companies like IRFC, the Indian Railway Finance Corporation Limited, which is like the funding arm of the Indian Railways. And very simply, IRFC borrows funds from the financial markets to either lend to the railways at a slightly higher rate or to finance the acquisition or creation of assets like trains, coaches, wagons, etc., which are then leased out to the railways. Secondly, there's Rail Vikas Nigam, the construction and project management arm of Bharatiya Rail. This company is responsible for the building and upgrading of infrastructure, which includes new railway lines, electrification, upgrading stations, signaling systems, etc., for which RVNL is compensated via project fees. Next up is IRCTC, or the Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation Limited, whose primary business is centered around three things. Online ticketing, wherein it operates as the official ticket booking platform for the Indian Railways. Catering, IRCTC provides food and beverage to passengers on trains and at railway stations. And thirdly, the company promotes tourism by organizing rail-based tour packages, luxury train experiences, and pilgrimage tours. Number 4, we have Container Corporation of India, or CONCOR, which specializes in logistics with a strong focus on rail-based transportation of goods. CONCOR manages containerized cargo for the railways. It runs dedicated freight trains and also operates a network of inland container depots and terminals for the loading, unloading, and storing of goods. Another company is IRCON, or IRCON International Limited, that specializes in complex infrastructure projects like constructing bridges, boring tunnels, laying high altitude railway lines, etc. RITES or REITs, is another PSU. It provides consultancy and project management services for the railways, including feasibility studies, surveys, and quality assurance. RailTel Corporation of India is the provider of telecommunication and internet services. So, services like broadband internet, lease line connectivity, and data center solutions, which it does through its vast optical fiber network that runs alongside railway tracks, covering almost the entire company. Right, so where are we? Okay, so we've covered 7 companies, and these 7 are very much centered around railways. The remaining 7 are a bit more broad, but then they do work closely with the railways on a number of important requirements. So we're talking about companies like NTPC, which is responsible for the railways' massive energy demands for running trains, stations, and other operations. Bharat Electronics, which is helping develop the Kavach train collision avoidance system. ONGC, it relies on the railways for transporting petroleum products and the heavy equipment it needs for exploration and drilling activities. Likewise, there's HPCL that uses Indian Railways for cost effectively transporting products like diesel, petrol, and LPG to its various distribution centers across the country. BEML, or Bharat Earth Movers Limited, which works on various railway projects and has recently won a contract to build Made in India bullet trains. The Steel Authority of India relies heavily on the railways for transporting raw materials like iron ore, coal, and limestone to its steel plants, as well as for distributing finished products like steel and alloys to its consumers. And the last and 14th constituent of the Nifty India Railways PSU Index is BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, which recently led the consortium that won the order for supplying 80 new Vande Bharat trains and undertake their maintenance for a period of 35 years. Now, notice the expansiveness, the different sectors that are being represented in this single theme based index. There are construction companies, financial services, power, metals, services, even telecom, making this index a truly diversified one. Okay, so let's spend a minute on the index methodology. And essentially, our 14 constituents are divided into a core group and a non-core group of companies. The first one, the core group's aggregate stock weight is capped at 80%, while the non-core group is limited to 20% with the weight of an individual stock capped at 20%. And all this is, of course, based on the company's free float market capitalization. Now, the Nifty India Railways PSU Index was launched just last month with its base date set as April 1st, 2021. The index is reconstituted semi-annually, it's rebalanced quarterly, and while 3-4 years is too little a time, on a performance basis, the Railways PSU Index has delivered 46.1% since its inception. On an annual basis, this index has delivered at least 25% in all 4 years of its existence, and in 2024, last year, it delivered a 25.1% return in spite of the index dropping by a good 27% from its all-time high in July of last year. Which must make one wonder, is it a good time to enter this index? Well, on a valuation basis, the Nifty India Railways PSU Index as a portfolio is at a P multiple of around 30. Now, honestly, I don't have much to compare as the P ratio data is available for just a couple of months. So what I parallelly did is to map out the individual constituents and study how these markers are moving. So firstly, yes, there has been a drop in price with most stocks falling by 15, 20, 25% over the last 5 to 6 months. And this has obviously improved the valuations for these companies. But on the flip side, I'll request you all to have a view on the growth rates as well, which for some constituents seem to have tapered a bit in the recent past. My own assessment is that the railway PSU index is neither over nor undervalued, which means the essence here is that when you invest in a railway index like this, then you're betting on the railways as a sector. So it's a macro view, and as the sector progresses, so shall the value of the index. Of course, if you are more into individual stock picking, a bit more analysis and research will be needed. And now that I've said it, I realize I haven't covered a single railway stock in my newsletter yet. As a category, I've covered a hotel with Sami, a tourism services player in BLS, a SaaS company with Zaggle, Sky Gold, the jewelry manufacturer, a fashion company in Raymond Lifestyle, Seagull, which is an EPC player, Garware High Tech, which is into films, an MSME financer in Ugro Capital, Deep Industries in the oil and gas space, Kilburn Engineering, so industrial goods, and Hariom Pipe Industries, which, as the name suggests, is into piping. I'll definitely spend a bit more time on the railway sector now, and if I find anything good, you definitely know by now where it is going to be featured. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and also tell your friends about it. Alright, so there is no denying the fact that the railways are a critical infrastructure sector for India's economy, serving both passenger travel and logistics. It's a sector that the government is aggressively supporting with a number of initiatives ranging from new trains, new tracks, better stations on the passenger front, and also on the freight side with dedicated corridors, reduction in travel time, and additional cargo terminals. Beyond policy support, there's also a heightened demand for railway services. With India's per capita GDP projected to grow nearly eightfold over the next 2 decades, a significant rise in passenger travel for both business and leisure is anticipated, driven by increasing income levels. Strong demand is expected in rail-based freight traffic as well, thanks to industrial growth, with some studies expecting this to cross $500 billion by the year 2030. With everything that's going around us, Vande Bharat, high-speed trains, sustainable transport solutions, metros, monorails, Kavach, PM Gati Shakti, and dozens of other initiatives, freight growth, passenger growth, I mean, this is one sector that seriously needs a proper look in, and it's a discussion we'll continue to have in my community that's likely to come up in a month or two from now. In the meantime, do explore more about the Nifty India Railways PSU Index, which is likely to be the benchmark for most railway-centric stocks. You can also delve into individual stocks as well. And if you find something worthy, please do share your investment thesis with me at hello@beginnersbuck.com. Anyways, thank you very much for your time. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. Type in your questions in the comment section, subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll definitely see you next week. Until then.